Yeah, good afternoon. In the previous class, we have discussed some points such as mm, suc- uh, succeeding the other. The scripture no longer bears within him passions, humors, feelings, and impressions. These are the points we discussed in the previous class. Okay, this is the last point we discussed in the previous class. Okay, when the book is written, this Roland Barthes says that when the book is written, so with the enunciation of the work, okay, then it lost its content. It lost its content that is imposed by the author, and he says it become performative. The writing or the written book will become performative. So it performs. Okay, the performance of the text may be perceived by the reader. The performance of the text may be perceived by the reader based on the mental capability or based on the experience of the reader. Let us discuss the next argument of this Roland Barthes. Once the author is removed, the climb to decipher a text becomes quite futile. That means pointless or useless. Okay, once the author is removed, then there is no use to decipher. That means to convert into to bring or try to bring the intention of the author in the text. Try to convert into normal language. Try to convert into try to convert the idea or intention or the personality of the author into the normal language. Okay, see, once the author is removed, the climb to decipher a text becomes quite futile. Okay, to give a text another, to give a text another is to impose a limit on the text. Okay, if we try to give, or if you try to keep the order of the text, okay, what may happen? He says it is imposing a limit to the text. Okay, so if you accept, or if you say, if you attribute the other to the text while reading, if you attribute the other, or if you consult the other, or if you consider the other while reading the text, it is a thing like limiting, or it is the process of giving limitation to the text. It is making the text limit. It is the process of making text limitation. We are limiting the text if we consider the other, if we give a text and another. Okay, if you say so and so book was written by the author, so and so author, then if you say, or if you attribute such others, then you have to consider, okay, you have to consider even the other's personality. Okay, then you should try to know the meaning of the other, what the other in his mind, what the other has in his mind. What can we understand here? if we have to consider, or if we want to consider the other, then we have to know the biographical details or the background details of the other. Then even we should try to know the personality of the other, and with respect to that personality of the other, or the biographical details or socio-economical and political conditions of the other, or the age in which he has survived. Okay, the condition of that age. Okay, all the matters of that age are to be considered, are to be considered. That is the point here. Okay, that's why by considering all these facts, we are trying to understand the personality of the other in the text. We are trying to the personality of the other in the text. So what does it mean? By understanding the personality of the other, we are trying to know what the other means. What does the other mean in that text? Then we will try to know what is the intention of the other in the text. By knowing or by trying to know the intention of the other, we are limiting ourselves, our interpretative skills. We are limiting ourselves, our interpretative skills. That's what this Roland Barthes says. Okay, to give a text and another is to impose a limit on the text, to furnish it with a final signified, to furnish with it a final signified. That final signified is given by the other. Okay, we are furnishing it with the final signified. Okay, the intention of the other, final signified means the meaning of the other. By doing so, we are closing the right. By doing so, we are closing the right. Okay, when something is written, that writing, as earlier this Roland Barthes mentioned, that writing has performative responsibility or performative function. That writing has performative function. But here, if we consider the other, we are limiting ourselves, our interpretative skill, and we are limiting the scope of interpretation of that particular text. If we consider the meaning of the other, then we will find only one meaning. If we do not consider the other's intention, or if we do not consider what the other mean, then we can interpret number of meanings. That's what Roland Barthes says. Okay, such a conception shows criticism. Very well. Okay, if we do not limit ourselves, okay, if we do not limit ourselves to a particular meaning, or that one meaning that is by the author's intention, then we will have many choices to interpret in different ways. We will have number of choices, sometimes many more choices to interpret in our own words, in different ways, What does it mean here? We can understand that here. See, the consideration, the attribution of the other to your text limits our knowledge. Okay, sometimes when we say when we give a statement, okay, if you feel that they may not be able to understand exactly what you want to express, or exactly what you expressed, then you may explain, I mean, You may say, you may start the explanation, I mean, or I don't mean, like this. Why? Okay, you may think that your message may not be conveyed properly, or your message is not conveyed properly. Okay, so for me, as a sender of the message, for me, there may be one meaning for a sentence. There may be one meaning for a sentence in my mind. Okay, if you have to consider, if you have to receive my meaning, then you will find only one meaning to the sentence. Okay, but when I write something and I leave that something to you, or I leave to your hands that something, then if you do not consider my meaning, then you can create or you can interpret your own meaning. You can interpret your own meaning. Moreover, he says that process, okay, that space in which number of meanings can be extracted. Okay, that space where the number of meanings can be, okay, elicited by our own way of interpretation, that is suitable for the criticism. That is suitable for the criticism, right? Actually, that should be there in the criticism. If the task of the critic is just to know what is the intention of the author, what is the intention of the author, then he is no greater than a reader. The critic is no greater than a reader. Okay, even the reader, by reading the poem, he can understand the meaning or the idea what the poet wants to tell us. Okay, if the same thing is done, if the same thing is done by the critic also, then what is the use to be a critic? He is just a reader. He is just a reader, maybe a skillful. Okay, that's why Roland Barthes says that there should be a text in from which we can extract number of meanings. We can bring out number of aspects from the same text. That is suitable for the criticism. That is suitable for the criticism. But to do that, we have to remove the other. To do that, we have to remove the other. That is the point here. That is the point here, right? So, criticism is today undermined along with the other. Okay, criticism is today undermined or lessened or reduced its effect along with the other, along with the other. Okay, when the other is considered, then the effect of the criticism is undermined. Okay, see, in precisely this way literature by refusing to assign a secret and ultimate meaning to the text liberates what may be called an anti-theological activity, an activity that is truly revolutionary, since to refuse to fix meaning is in the end to refuse God and his hypostasis, reason, silence, science, and law. Excellent point he is mentioned. Okay, in this way, what this Roland Barthes says. Okay, we can liberate. Okay, this what may be called an anti-theological activity. This liberation, okay, from this liberation may be called as an anti-theological activity, Yeah, for example, let me tell you, in almost all the religious books, at the end or at the middle or at the beginning, there may be a strong infallible imprint, that No one should add a single word, a single dot to the book, and no one is allowed to remove a single dot or single word from that book. Okay, because they believe that, okay, or it is believed that the religious books were the direct revelations of the God, the direct revelations of the God. As they are the revelations of the God, in those books, whatever the statement is, we believe that that statement is spoken by the God. That statement is spoken by the gods. Okay, then we should not interpret it. We should understand the meaning of the God. We should understand what is the intention of the God. Okay, that is theological. That is theological. Okay, if we strictly bound to the idea or intention of the other, okay, considering the other as a part or a originator of this book or a creator of this book, then it is theological. It is theological. But this Roland Barthes, he proposed anti-theological, not theological, anti-theological. Okay, he says that this way literature, okay, in precisely this way literature, okay, liberates, he said. Okay, what can be liberated? What can be liberated? Okay, a theological activity. Okay, what is that theological activity? Considering that the intention of the other may be the secret of the poem. The intention of the other may be the secret of the poem. Sorry, the secret of the poet. If we could find the exact intention of the other, if we could find, okay, the meaning of the other, then it says that then it would be considered as, it would be considered as the success of the reader, the success of the reader, or if the reader succeeded, in finding the meaning or in finding the intention of the other. This is the traditionally what happened before this Roland Barthes proposal. Before this Roland Barthes proposal, this happened. This happened. Okay, but now he says that in precisely this way, by refusing to assign a secret, this idea, what Roland Barthes proposed, that is refusing, okay, a secret of the text, given by the author. Okay, so that secret generally was considered to be the ultimate meaning of the poem, the ultimate meaning of the text. We can say earlier that was the practice. Earlier that was the practice before this Roland Barthes. Okay, what is the practice? Considering that there may be a secret in the poem, our task as a reader is to find out that secret. Okay, that secret should be the ultimate meaning, or the final meaning. But now, Roland Barthes says, okay, in this way, in his way, removing the author from the text. By removing the author from the text, in this way, it liberates what may be called, an anti-theological activity. It is an anti-theological activity, an activity that is truly revolutionary. But he says that surely the removal of the author is not the ordinary thing. The removal of the author is not ordinary thing. It is an activity that is truly revolutionary, since or because it refused to fix meaning is. It refused to fix meaning is. In the end, it refused even the God. This interpretation refused even the God, even the word of the God, even the word of the gods. Okay, that's why he says here we can understand that. Okay, earlier they used to think that there may be a secret in the poem, that secret is the intention of the author or the meaning of the author. By reading the total poem, we should find the meaning of the author, that is the secret which may present in that poem, and finally we can say that secret is ultimate meaning. If the critic or the reader could find that ultimate meaning, it is said that he succeeded. It is said that he succeeded. This is the earlier practice. But now he refuses to find the secret. Instead of that, he says that, okay, he says that a critic should explore as possible meanings, as far as many meanings as possible. Okay, the critic has to bring out as many meanings as possible. Okay, that's why he says that. Okay, so yeah, the recent research has demonstrated the constitutionally ambiguous nature of the Greek tragedy is a text being woven from words with double meanings. That each character understands unilaterally, someone who understands each word in its duplicity, and who in addition hears the very deafness of the characters speaking in front of him, this someone being precisely the reader. You see, yeah, some research revealed that fact that, okay, has some research has demonstrated constitutively ambiguous nature of the Greek tragedy. That research found or discovered the fact that in the Greek tragedy, there are number of ambiguous words or sentences. There are number of ambiguous words or sentences, or ambiguous in the sense the words which may have double meaning or triple meaning, whatever it may. Okay, the confusable words. Okay, the same word may have two or three meanings. Okay, that's what we call ambiguous. Here, ambiguous nature of the Greek tragedy. Okay, the research scholars, they found that the most of the Greek tragedy is full of ambiguous expressions. Is full of ambiguous expressions. That's why it's a text being woven from the words with the double meaning. As the texts are woven from words with double meaning, okay, as those texts were composed by using the words which have double meaning, okay, then someone may interpret the text from his point of view by understanding one meaning of the word or one meaning of the sentence, and may interpret okay, may interpret in another way. Okay, see, when we hear the sound of the crow, that is cow, cow, cow. For us, we feel that it is hungry, it needs some food. But for Annamaya, okay, he thought that ఈ లోకంలో ఏవి శాశ్వతాలు కావు 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 అంటుందట. That is his perception. That is his perception. As it is, as there is a choice or as there is a chance to interpret in two ways. One can interpret in one way, the other in another way. Okay, so here, someone who understands each word in its duplicity, someone may understand in its duplicity the second side of the coin. They may understand or they may interpret the second side of the coin. Thus is revealed the total existence of writing. Then what is the right one? Is it one side of the coin or the other side of the coin? Which one is the right one? Actually, toward the right. Actually, toward the right. That is the activity of writing. And moreover, that is the activity of literary criticism. Okay, the criticism or the critic should be able to explore both sides. The critic should be able to explore both sides. That is the important here. And thus is revealed the total existence of writing. In such a way, we can feel or we can understand that such ambiguous nature is revealed the total existence of writing. In the total existence of writing, or the total existence of writing can be understood like that. A text is made up of multiple writings. A text is made up of multiple writings drawn from many cultures. Okay, a text is made up of multiple writings. Before writing the text, the writer write, erase, again and again. He may correct the sentence. He may correct the text. That's why writing is made up of multiple writings. What is this? Text. Text is made up of multiple writings. Okay, after lot of effort, after the great effort, the final draft may become the text. The final draft may become text. But earlier, before that final draft, which become the text, the writer might have written many pages, might have torn, okay, tear off. Okay, might have tear off many pages, might have struck many sentences, and might have left many pages what he has written as a rough draft. Okay, text is not a simple writing. It is the multiple writings. It is made up of multiple writings. Number of ideas, number of thoughts. Again and again, the writer refine his idea to bring out a particular text. It is not simple thing. It is very laborious and drawn. Moreover, that the text is drawn from many cultures, okay, and entering into mutual relations of the dialogue, parody, contestation. But there is one place where this multiplicity is focused. Okay, within the same text, there may be mutual relations of the dialogue and a parody, contestation, but there is one place, that is the text, where this multiplicity is focused. Okay, you see, number of rays of the light fall on one place. Let us suppose fall on one place, then all these rays are not visible, but that particular spot where we find the light, that is visible. all these rays have a particular focus, particular place where they can focus, where they can focus. In the same manner, from all the cultures, there may be all the cultures, number of writings or number of ideas may be placed in one place, may be placed in one place. That multiplicity, that multiplicity, okay, here multiplicity means a combination of number of things. That multiplicity is focused, and that place is the reader. That place is the reader. Now, based on this text, number of rays are focused on our mind, in our mind. Now, all these ideas are in our mind as a reader, in our mind as a reader, right? So, that place is reader, not as was hitherto said the other. Okay, so that focused place now, that focused place, what was focused at one place from different cultures, okay, from different or from multiple writings, there is only one place that is called, okay, the reader, that is called the reader. In the mind of the reader, now by reading the text, again number of aspects may be explored, number of aspects may be explored. Okay, then okay, that focused place or that focused point is not the other. That focused place or that focused point is not the other. It is the reader. It is the reader, right? So a text unity lies not in its origin, but in its destination. Okay, so the unity of the text is not in its origin. The unity of the text is not in its origin, but in its okay, destination. In its destination, that means in its end. Okay, so the writer might have worked hard, okay, might have sacrificed his life, but the fact is that the unity of the text is not lies, does not lies in its origin, but in its destination, right? The reader is without history, biography, psychology. He is simply that someone who holds together in a single field all the traces by which the written text is constituted. Now, he is going to give a good definition of the reader. He is going to give a good definition of the reader. Who is the reader? The reader is without history, without a biography of the author, without psychology of the author. Okay, he's simply that someone who holds together in a single field. In a single field, he will explore all the traces by which the written text is constituted. Okay, the fact is that the written text is constituted by number of traces, by number of aspects or multiple aspects, we can say. That's why there is a multiplicity. Okay, then the written text may be constituted with a number of aspects, okay, from different cultures, different people, and different traditions, whatever it may be. Then this is the this is the reader. This is the reader who holds together all these things within single field, that is the text. Within that text, he will trace out all these things. by which the written text was constituted. Okay, so classical criticism has never paid, okay, the criticism before him, the criticism before practical criticism, or the criticism before new criticism. He says that such criticism which is before this new criticism, that is called classical criticism. Classical criticism has never paid any attention to the reader. Classical criticism has never paid any attention to the reader. For it, the writer is the only person in the literature. The writer is only person in the literature. Okay, in case of this classical literature, those are all the critics, those are all the scholars, they gave weightage only to the author. They gave weightage only to the author. They felt that only the author is the important person, and moreover they thought that only the author is an important person, and only one person in the text. Only one person in the text. Only one person in the text. Right? That's why here classical criticism has never paid any attention to the reader. For it, the writer is the only person in literature. The writer is only person in literature. Okay, we know that to give writing its future. To give writing its future. Okay, we know that to give writing its future. If you want to give the future to the writing, it is necessary to overthrow the myth. Okay, it is necessary to overthrow the myth. What is that myth? Okay, there is only one person in the text, that is author. This is the myth. This is the myth. This is a exaggerated statement, we can say, or this is a wrong conception, we can say. So now, if you want to give future to the writing, it is necessary to overthrow the myth. It is necessary to remove the author. It is necessary to remove the personality of the author from the text. It is necessary to keep at a distance the author from the text. Okay, then the birth of the reader, he says that the birth of the reader must be at the cost of the death of the author. He says the birth of the reader must be at the cost of the death of the author. If the reader wants to born, if the reader is to be born, or if you want the reader to born, then you should kill the author. You should kill the author. Okay, so the birth of the reader must be at the cost of the death of the author. Must be at the cost of the death of the author. Okay, at the cost of the death of the author. So finally he says that if you want, or if we want the literary text to survive, or the writings to survive, then we should kill the author. We should remove the author from the text. Okay, we should remove the author from the text, and then ultimately we should ignore the passions, impressions, or experiences of the author from his own life. Okay, here we should understand that how he proposed the death of the author at the cost, the birth of the author, the birth of the reader at the cost of the death of the author, at the cost of the death of the author. Okay, so this is the text death of the author. This is the text, death of the author. Okay, to understand this, simply you can understand that. Okay, what is the criticism, or what are the perspectives, or what are the viewpoints of the literary criticism before new criticism? Before new criticism. If you observe that classical criticism, if you observe that classical criticism, in that classical criticism, generally it is considered that the author is the final thing. The author is the ultimate power. The author is the ultimate power over the text. Okay, this is the ideology of the classical criticism. But now he says that the author is not the ultimate power, but he says that the reader is ultimate power to infer the meaning, to make inferences from the text, to make inferences from the text, right? So dear students, here in this text we discussed that, okay, the passions, okay, the experiences, okay, the feelings and humors and the impressions, these are all swept away. These are all swept away or swept away from the text. Okay, they were removed from the text. Only based on the reader, the writing will get the birth. The writing will be given birth. The writing will be given birth. That's why the birth of the reader, is at the cost of the author, is at the cost of the death of the author. The birth of the reader is at the cost of the death of the author. So what does it mean? If we want the reader to be alive or to be born, then the writer must be die. The writer must be dead. The writer must be dead. Okay, this is the text. Yeah, from this point, okay, whenever from this ideology, okay, when we want to interpret the literary text, then we can interpret, okay, from the same thing. Okay, you see, when we want to make a number of inferences from the same text, then we should not consider the author. We should not consider the personality of the author. Okay, so that is the important, dear students. Understanding the personality of the author is a practice in classical criticism. That is a practice in classical criticism, studying the biography, okay, history, and other things such as here we discussed. Okay, he is not. Already we mentioned that. Already I mentioned that. Okay, the biography, the psychology, and the history of the author is not to be known. Is not to be known, or is not to be studied. Okay, so that's why finally we can understand that. Okay, we know that to give writing its future, it is necessary to overthrow the myth. The birth of the reader must be at the cost of the death of the author. The birth of the reader must be at the cost of the death of the author. Okay, that's why, dear students, this is the text, the death of the author. Though the small text. Okay, though this is just the matter of 3 or 4 pages. You should be very conscious to know all his argument, how he proved that the classical author, the classical author died. I mentioned here classical author because classical critics gave more priority. Classical critics prioritized this person of the other, person of the author. Okay, so dear students, this is the death of the author, and tomorrow, tomorrow if possible,